Your home is not cluttered because you own too much. It's cluttered because at least 15 things sitting in your house right now were never supposed to be there in the first place. And before you think this is another generic decluttering video telling you to throw away old magazines and buy matching storage bins, it's not. This comes from a culture that has spent over 3,000 years studying how the space around you shapes the life inside you. A culture where the arrangement of a single room is treated with the same seriousness as the health of the body living in it. Here's what's coming. Number 5 will change the way you look at your own kitchen counter tonight. Number 11 is something almost every Western household does, that Chinese families consider genuinely harmful. And number 15, that's not an item. That's a principle. And once you hear it, you'll understand why everything before it matters. What if the reason certain Chinese homes feel calm the moment you walk in isn't about expensive furniture or minimalist taste, but about what isn't there? In China, there is a 3,000-year-old philosophy called feng shui, and while most people in the West think of it as some vague spiritual idea about moving your couch to attract money, the real practice is far more grounded than that. Feng shui literally translates to wind and water. It's about how energy, what the Chinese call qi, moves through your space the way air moves through a room. And when something blocks that flow, physically, visually, emotionally, you feel it, even if you can't name it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 15 things are silently disrupting the flow of your home, why Chinese families have avoided them for generations, and what to do about each one. Starting tonight. None of this requires a renovation. None of this costs money. Most of it takes less than 10 minutes. If even one of these changes the way you think about your living space, tell me which one in the comments. I read every single one. In most Western homes, cleaning is a reaction. Something gets messy, you notice it's messy, and eventually, when the mess crosses some invisible threshold, you fix it. The mess drives the action. In Chinese culture, the approach is reversed. You don't wait for the problem. You prevent the problem from forming by being intentional about what you allow into your space in the first place. There's a concept in Chinese philosophy that has become enormously popular in recent years. It's called Duan Xie Li. 3 characters. Duan means to cut off, to stop bringing unnecessary things in. Xie means to discard, to release what no longer serves you. And Li means to separate, to create emotional distance from your attachment to objects. Cut, release, separate. It's not about having less for the sake of having less. It's about recognizing that every object in your home either supports your energy or quietly drains it. And in Chinese tradition, a home filled with stagnant objects is like a body with blocked circulation. Eventually, something starts to ache. A study from Ookla's Center on Everyday Lives and Families found that women who described their homes as cluttered had significantly elevated cortisol, the stress hormone, throughout the entire day, compared to those who described their homes as restful. The clutter didn't just look bad. It physically changed their body chemistry. Chinese families have understood this for centuries, not through cortisol tests, but through a simple, powerful observation. The space you live in becomes the mind you think with. Small, intentional removals, repeated consistently, create a home that doesn't drain you. That's not minimalism. That's feng shui in its most honest form. Item 1. Shoes worn indoors. In nearly every traditional Chinese household, shoes come off at the door. Not sometimes. Every single time. This practice dates back to the Zhou dynasty, over 3,000 years ago, when removing footwear before entering a living space was a formal act of respect and hygiene. People sat on the floor, ate at low tables, and the idea of walking indoor surfaces with the same soles that touch the street was considered not just dirty, but disrespectful to the home itself. And modern science confirms what the Zhou dynasty already knew. A study from the University of Arizona found an average of 421,000 units of bacteria on the outside of a single shoe, including E. coli, Klebsiella pneumoniae, and Serratia fecaria. Over 90% of those bacteria transferred directly to clean floor surfaces on first contact. In Chinese homes, you'll often find a designated area just inside the door, sometimes a small shelf, sometimes a simple mat, where outdoor shoes are exchanged for indoor slippers. Separate slippers for guests are common. In many households, there are even different slippers for the bathroom. Tonight, place a pair of clean slippers by your front door. That's it. One pair, one boundary. The shift. This isn't about keeping your floors clean. It's about deciding, consciously, where the outside world ends and your personal space begins. Item 2. Broken or cracked objects. If something in a Chinese home breaks, a bowl, a vase, a mirror, it doesn't sit on a shelf waiting to be fixed. It's removed. In feng shui, a broken object represents stagnant, incomplete energy. It signals something in the home that is unresolved, unfinished, caught between function and failure. And in Chinese culture, keeping broken items, especially cracked mirrors or chipped dishes, is associated with inviting misfortune. But beyond the symbolism, there's a practical truth here. Broken things create what psychologists call open loops, unfinished tasks your brain keeps unconsciously tracking. Every time you walk past that cracked picture frame or that drawer handle you've been meaning to fix for 6 months, your brain registers it as an incomplete commitment. And research from the Princeton Neuroscience Institute, published in 2011, found that visual clutter, including broken or disorganized objects, competes directly with your brain's ability to focus, degrading both attention and cognitive performance. Chinese families don't keep broken things because they understand something elegant. An object that no longer functions as intended no longer belongs in a functioning home. Walk through your house tonight. Find one broken item, just one. Remove it, repair it, or release it. The shift. A broken object isn't waiting to be fixed. It's silently asking your brain to carry it every single day. Item 3. Clocks as decorative gifts. This one surprises almost everyone outside Chinese culture. In Mandarin, the phrase, to give a clock, songjong, songjong, sounds almost identical to songjong, songjong, which means to attend a funeral or to pay last respects. Because of this phonetic overlap, clocks, especially wall clocks given as gifts, are considered one of the most inauspicious items you can bring into a Chinese home. This is not a fringe superstition. It's mainstream cultural awareness. In Chinese business, in Chinese families, in Chinese social etiquette, gifting a clock is a serious taboo. And while many modern Chinese households obviously own clocks, the practice of displaying gifted clocks prominently or keeping old, non-functioning clocks as decoration is widely avoided. The deeper principle here isn't really about sound-alikes, it's about intentionality. In Chinese culture, every object in your home carries meaning. Whether you assigned it or not, a gift with unfortunate associations doesn't become neutral just because you didn't mean it that way. If you have a non-functioning clock hanging somewhere in your home, one that stopped telling time months ago, ask yourself honestly, why is it still there? The shift. In feng shui, a stopped clock doesn't just display the wrong time. It symbolizes time that has stopped moving in your life. Item 4. Piles of old newspapers and paper clutter. In many Chinese households, particularly those influenced by traditional feng shui, you will rarely see stacks of old newspapers, outdated documents, or piles of unsorted mail sitting on surfaces. Paper clutter is considered one of the most common sources of what feng shui practitioners call sha qi, man, meaning killing energy, or, more accurately, stagnant force. Unlike a single object that can be moved, paper accumulates invisibly. One newspaper becomes 10, 10 becomes a pile, the pile becomes background, and once something becomes background, your brain stops noticing it, but your stress response doesn't. The 2011 Princeton Neuroscience Institute study mentioned earlier found that multiple visual stimuli present in your field of view at the same time compete for your brain's neural representation, meaning the more cluttered your physical space, the harder your brain has to work to maintain focus on anything at all. Chinese families often practice a daily paper sort, a few minutes each evening to discard, file, or recycle. Not a weekend project. A daily micro-habit. Tonight, pick up one stack of paper from any surface in your home. Sort it in under 3 minutes. Keep what matters. Release the rest. The shift. Paper doesn't pile up because you're disorganized. It piles up because no one taught you to treat paper the way Chinese families do, as energy, not information. Item 5. Excess plastic containers. Open a kitchen cabinet in many Western homes, and you'll find a tower of mismatched plastic containers. Lids that don't match, bottoms stacked 3 deep, containers so old they've yellowed and warped. In traditional Chinese kitchens, plastic storage is kept to an absolute minimum, and there's a reason beyond aesthetics. A 2023 review published in the journal Food Control found that bisphenol A, BPA, leaches from plastic containers into food at significantly higher rates when exposed to heat, acidic content, or prolonged storage. Even containers marketed as BPA-free were found to release other estrogenic compounds with similar hormonal disruption potential. Chinese households, particularly those following traditional Chinese medicine principles, have long favored ceramic, glass, and porcelain for food storage, not because plastic didn't exist, but because in TCM, the container that holds your food is considered part of the food itself. What touches your nourishment becomes your nourishment. Open your kitchen cabinet tonight. Remove every plastic container that is discolored, warped, cracked, or missing its lid. You'll be shocked how many there are. The shift. You wouldn't eat from a cracked plate. So why are you storing your food in a container that's slowly breaking down into your meals? Item 6. Dried or dead flowers. In the West, dried flower arrangements are a popular decorating trend. In traditional Chinese homes, they're almost never displayed. In feng shui, dried flowers represent exactly what they are: life that has ended. They no longer grow, absorb light, or release oxygen. They are beautiful, yes, but they are also still. And in feng shui, stillness without purpose is stagnation. Feng shui consultant Anji Cho explains that the qi you want circulating through your home is living, moving, vibrant energy. Dried flowers carry the opposite frequency. They hold the form of life without any of its vitality. Many practitioners describe them as energetic echoes, beautiful to look at, but hollow. Fresh flowers, on the other hand, are highly encouraged. Even a single fresh stem in a simple glass of water is considered more energetically beneficial than an elaborate dried arrangement. If you have dried flowers in your home, replace one arrangement this week with a single fresh stem. Notice how the room feels different. The shift. A dried flower didn't choose to stop living, but you're choosing to keep it. And in feng shui, that choice tells your home what kind of energy you're willing to accept. Item 7. A mirror facing the bed. This is one of the oldest and most widely observed feng shui rules in Chinese households, and also one of the most commonly broken in Western bedrooms. In feng shui, a mirror facing the bed is believed to bounce qi energy back and forth throughout the night, creating restlessness and preventing the deep, restorative stillness that sleep requires. The bedroom is considered a yin space, cool, calm, still, and a mirror introduces constant reflective movement that disrupts that yin energy. But even without feng shui, there's a neurological basis for this. Sleep researchers have noted that reflective surfaces in the bedroom, particularly those that catch ambient light, can trigger micro-arousals during sleep. Your brain, even in a semi-conscious state, registers movement or light changes in a mirror, which can prevent you from reaching deeper stages of REM sleep. If moving your mirror isn't practical, cover it at night with a cloth. Many traditional Chinese bedrooms include a folding screen or a fabric panel specifically for this purpose. Tonight, before bed, drape a scarf or a towel over the mirror in your bedroom. Try it for 1 week. Notice what changes. The shift. Your bedroom isn't a showroom. It's a sanctuary. And a sanctuary doesn't need a surface that watches you while you sleep. Item 8. Leaky faucets or dripping pipes. In feng shui, water represents wealth. It's one of the 5 core elements, alongside wood, fire, earth, and metal. And when water leaks, slowly, persistently, unnoticed, it symbolizes wealth quietly draining out of your life. Now, you can take that metaphorically or literally, but the literal version is also true. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency estimates that household leaks waste nearly 1 trillion gallons of water annually nationwide. A single dripping faucet can waste over 3,000 gallons per year. In Chinese homes, a leaky faucet is not a minor nuisance. It's treated with urgency, not just because of the water bill, but because of what it represents, something vital leaving your home without your consent. If you have a drip somewhere in your house that you've been ignoring, the kitchen tap, the bathroom shower head, the toilet that runs for a few seconds after every flush, fix it this week, not next month. This week. The shift. A drip is not small, it's slow. And slow losses are the ones you never notice until they've taken everything. Stay with me for the next few, because from here, the items get more personal. These aren't just things sitting on a shelf. These are patterns you've been living with so long, you forgot they were a choice. If this is already making you look around your own room differently, hit the like button. It helps more people find this, and honestly, more people need to hear this. Item 9. Expired medicine and old supplements. In many Western bathrooms, there's a medicine cabinet that hasn't been fully sorted in years. Half-empty bottles of painkillers from a prescription that ended, supplements bought during a health phase that passed, cold medicine from 2 winters ago. Chinese households, especially those rooted in TCM practice, Treat medicine with deep respect. Medicine is not background storage. It is potent, intentional, and temporary. When it has served its purpose, or when it has expired, it is removed. And this isn't just philosophy. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration warns that expired medications can lose potency, develop dangerous bacterial growth, or undergo chemical changes that make them harmful. Certain antibiotics, for example, become less effective over time, meaning taking expired antibiotics during an illness could allow an infection to worsen while giving you a false sense of treatment. Open your medicine cabinet tonight. Check every single expiration date. Remove anything expired. Take it to a pharmacy drop-off, not your trash can. The shift. Medicine that has expired is no longer medicine. It's a risk disguised as a remedy, and your bathroom has been hiding it in plain sight. Item 10. Old shoes you no longer wear. We already talked about not wearing shoes indoors, but there's a second shoe-related practice common in Chinese homes. They don't keep shoes they no longer wear. In Chinese culture, old shoes, especially worn-out, damaged shoes, carry the energy of past journeys, past struggles, past versions of yourself. Keeping them, especially in the entryway where fresh energy is supposed to enter, is considered a way of blocking your own forward movement. And practically, shoes are one of the highest bacteria objects in any home. That University of Arizona study found bacteria not just on the soles, but embedded deep inside the shoe's interior. An average of 2,887 units of bacteria inside the shoe itself, in warm, dark conditions that are ideal for bacterial growth. Go to your entryway, your closet, your shoe rack. Find the pair you haven't worn in over a year, the ones that are scuffed, faded, uncomfortable, or simply forgotten. Let them go. The shift. Old shoes don't just take up space. They hold you in a version of your life you've already walked past. Item 11. Outdoor clothes on indoor furniture. In many Chinese households, the clothes you wore outside never touch your bed, your couch, or your indoor seating until they've been changed or washed. This practice connects to a core principle in TCM. The outside world and the inside world are two different environments, and mixing them carelessly introduces imbalance. Outdoor clothes collect pollution, allergens, and airborne particles throughout the day. Sitting on your couch in the same jacket you wore on the subway, or lying on your bed in the jeans you wore to work. In Chinese culture, this is not relaxation. It's contamination disguised as comfort. A 2018 study published in the journal Building and Environment found that transferring outdoor particulates to indoor surfaces through clothing, shoes, and hair was a significant contributor to indoor air quality degradation, even in homes with good ventilation. Chinese families often designate a spot near the entrance, a hook, a small rack, specifically for outdoor layers. Those clothes stay there until they're washed. They never travel deeper into the home. Tonight, hang one hook by your door. Use it, just for your jacket or your outer layer. One hook, one boundary. The shift. Your bed should be the cleanest surface in your home, not the place where the outside world lands when you're too tired to care. Item 12. Stagnant water. Anywhere in the home. This one is subtle, and most people don't even realize they're doing it. In feng shui, moving water represents vitality and abundance. But still, stagnant water, a forgotten vase with murky flower water, a pet bowl left unchanged for days, a bucket of mop water sitting in a corner, represents the opposite. Stagnant water is yin energy without movement. It breeds bacteria, attracts insects, and in feng shui philosophy, it tells your home that things are sitting still when they should be flowing. And the science aligns. The World Health Organization has documented that stagnant household water is a breeding ground for Legionella bacteria, mosquito larvae, and biofilm, a thin layer of bacterial colonies that coats the surface of standing water within hours. Walk through your home. Find any standing water, a plant tray filled with overflow, a glass of water on your nightstand from 3 days ago, a forgotten watering can in the corner. Empty it. Refill only what needs to be active. The shift. Water is life, but only when it moves. When water sits still, it stops being nourishment and starts becoming neglect. Item 13. Cluttered or blocked entryways. In feng shui, the front entrance of your home is called the mouth of qi. It's where fresh energy enters your living space. When that entrance is blocked, shoes piled up, coats hanging off every hook, packages stacked against the wall, keys and mail thrown on any available surface, the qi can't flow in. And if fresh energy can't enter, the old, stale energy inside has nowhere to go. Chinese families treat the entryway with particular care. It is often the most deliberately maintained part of the home, clean, open, minimal. Not because they have more space, but because they understand that the first thing you see when you walk in sets the emotional tone for everything that follows. And neurologically, this makes sense. Research on first impressions of environments suggests that your brain forms a mood assessment of a space within seconds of entering it. A cluttered entryway triggers a low-level stress response before you've even taken your shoes off. Tomorrow morning, before you leave, spend 60 seconds on your entryway. Remove anything that doesn't belong there. Let the mouth of qi breathe. The shift. The entryway isn't a storage area. It's the first sentence your home speaks to you every time you walk through the door. Item 14. Things kept out of guilt. This is the one that gets personal, because every home has at least one. The gift from a relative you never liked but felt obligated to display. The furniture from a phase of your life that ended years ago. The decorations from a relationship that no longer exists but that you keep because getting rid of them feels like erasing the memory. In Chinese culture, this is addressed directly through the philosophy of Duan Xie Li, specifically the third character, Li, to separate, to create emotional distance between yourself and the object, not because the memory doesn't matter, but because the memory doesn't live in the object, it lives in you. Keeping something out of guilt doesn't honor the past, it anchors you to it. And in feng shui, an object kept with resentment or obligation carries that emotional charge into your space, invisibly, but constantly. You already know which item this is. You thought of it the moment I started this one. You don't have to throw it away tonight, but acknowledge it. Look at it honestly, and ask yourself, am I keeping this because it adds something to my life, or because I'm afraid of what it means to let it go? The shift. The most cluttered part of your home is not your closet. It's the shelf where guilt pretends to be decoration. Item 15. The belief that your home is finished. This is not an item you can pick up. You can't put it in a bag and carry it to the curb, but it might be the most important thing to remove from your home. In Chinese philosophy, a home is never finished. It is a living system, responsive, changing, breathing with the people inside it. The seasons shift, and the home adjusts. A child is born, and the home reorganizes. A chapter closes, and the home releases what belonged to that chapter. There's a concept in Chinese thought called bianhua, which means change, transformation. Not change as something disruptive, but change as the most natural state of existence. The river changes, the seasons change, your body changes, and your home, if you let it, changes with you. The Western approach often treats a home like a finished product. You decorate it once, organize it once, and then maintain it. The Chinese approach says, your home is a conversation, and if you stop talking to it, if you stop noticing, adjusting, releasing, renewing, the conversation goes silent. And a silent home is a stagnant home. The 14 items before this were specific, concrete, actionable, but they all connect to this one principle. Your home is not a place to store your life. It is a place to support your life. And supporting means evolving. If the hook at the beginning of this video said, your home is cluttered because 15 things were never supposed to be there, here's the deeper truth. Your home is cluttered because at some point, you stopped asking whether the things in it still belong to the person you're becoming. And now you know how to start asking again. Not with perfection, with attention. Shoes at the door, separate outside from inside. Broken objects, remove, repair, or release. Gifted clocks, if it stopped ticking, it stopped serving. Paper clutter, sort daily, not seasonally. Plastic containers, if they're warped or yellowed, they're done. Dried flowers, beauty without life is still stagnation. Mirror facing the bed, cover it tonight. Leaky faucets, fix the drip, seal the drain. Expired medicine, check every date, tonight. Old shoes, if you haven't worn them in a year, they're not yours anymore. Outdoor clothes on indoor surfaces, one hook, one boundary. Stagnant water, empty everything still. Cluttered entryway, let the mouth of qi breathe. Guilt objects, the memory lives in you, not in the thing. And the belief that your home is finished, release it. Your home grows when you do. You don't need to remove all 15 tonight. You need to remove one, just one, and let that be the beginning. Because small, intentional choices, repeated daily, create a home that doesn't drain you. They create a home that carries you. And if your home has felt heavy lately, if you've been walking through your own front door and feeling something unnamed pulling at you, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you don't care. It's because no one ever taught you to read your own space the way Chinese families have been reading theirs for 3,000 years. Now you have the language. Now you have the awareness. The rest is just one choice at a time. If someone came to mind while you were watching this, not just anyone, but someone specific, someone whose home you've been inside, someone who's been carrying weight they can't quite name, send them this video. Sometimes the right words at the right moment don't just clean a room. They change a life. Tell me in the comments, which number are you starting with tonight? I want to know. And if you're new here and this felt like something you needed to hear, subscribe. There's more like this coming every week. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.